Thank you. We do have room up in the balcony area, and if we're running out of space, please go into the area. And I'd like to thank Gabe for doing that. I had tried to reach him, and I was really glad that he was here just to tell me about even having to be asked. And that's what our spirit is here for. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm really excited that we've had a collection and a celebration and a unity of many student leaders here on campus that allows us to be really strong. And that's the strength of any organization and any community. And at this time, the Augsburg student leaders will make a candlelight ceremony presentation. The Augsburg student leaders.
My name is Lala Harry and Ray Branton. I am the chairperson of the Augsburg College Cross Culture Club. I have a dream. I say to you, my friends, that in spite of the difficulties and frustrations of the moment, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. together at the table of government. Hi, I'm Tracy Sunstrom, and I'm one of the co-commissioners of KCMR Radio. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a desert state sweltering with the heat of injustice and oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice.
Good afternoon. My name is Tina McGregor. I am President of the Public Relations Officer for the VSU at Augsburg. And I have a dream that one day my four children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Hi, I'm Jay Swanson. I'm president of Alexis. I have a dream that one day the state of Alabama, whose governor's lips are presently dripping with the words of interposition and notification, will be transformed into a situation where little black children will be able to join hands with the little white children and walk together as sisters and brothers.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Johnson, President of Augsburg Student Activities Council. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low, and rough places shall be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. Good afternoon, I'm Victoria Hopwood, Lincoln College. And this is our hope. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring. And when we let freedom ring, we let it ring from every village to every hamlet, from every state to every city. We'll be able to speed up the day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, we'll be able to join hands and sing in the words of that old great Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last.
Introduce you to Ms. Stephanie Smith. She's going to do a music selection, and we're really excited to have Stephanie part of our Augsburg family this year, and glad that she'll share some of her talent. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephanie Smith.
Okay, the title of my selection comes from a Baptist hymn titled The Old Rugged Cross. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross with the emblem of suffering and shame, and
Lord was on that old cross. Jesus suffered and died to cleanse and to save and find me. So cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies and last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. So cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies and last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. And exchange it someday for a crown.
Last year we had a program, we went a little long, and the dean's office said, well, you know, we're neutral, we sit for about an hour, and I told her I was Baptist, we sit for 2, so we're gonna try to compromise. And you can hear more songs and singing like Stephanie did today at the Town Black Church. My name is Anita Gay, and I'm the Director of Black Student Affairs, and I'd like to share with you some poetry. Martin Luther King talked about our most beloved community. Embrace me with our human kinship, our fellow feelings and our heart's delight, and love will prevail. Embrace me with our hope, our dreams, our desires, and love will prevail. May my human personality be mutually respected, and the manifestations of our souls of sharing, caring, and daring, and love will prevail. Our most beloved community is at its best when we are socially responsible. Embrace me in the beauty that comes in this walk of faith that gives us a communal attitude. For faith is to see what you believe and to believe what you do not see, and love will prevail. In honor of the King, it was a celebration, all in his honor, because he fought for a kind of liberation, and maybe that's why they say he's a martyr. Well, he won't be able to blow out his candles, but that's all right. Other things need to be handled. That was his plight. Things have changed, at least it seems, and now we have a new scope, a new reign, and yet a part of the same dream. One night, a couple of years ago, I had this notion to figure out what would Martin Luther King see if he was here in the 80s. And I had this poem that I read, perhaps, I guess, traditionally throughout the past years. Come on up to the 80s, Martin. Come on up to the 80s, Martin. Remember fighting for voters registration? Well, no one seems to know what to do with it or how to use it. How many died for that right, Martin? How many crosses burned in the front yards over the right to vote? Come civil rights to gone Congo. In as well as gays, handicaps, white women, Orientals, Hispanics, and multiracial babies, and it has very little to do with black folks. In fact, the new word is minority. And this president said we don't need jobs in the 70s because after all, we got affirmative action now. Coming up today, Ms. Martin, I'm a Jerry Curl swirl girl now, got rid of my 6-inch afro. Made ball hangers out of my dashikis and gave my baby a French name. Come on up today, Ms. Martin. Show these gangs a real gang leader, one that knows how to get people to march for justice, equal rights, and education. A gang leader could have thousands follow him from Selma to Montgomery. A gang leader that doesn't have to shoot his friends in the head and laugh. Come on up today, Ms. Martin. Come visit our churches and give us a good sermon on fellowship. Remember when we used to fellowship? Well, now my minister beats me out to the parking lot and drives his really new car out to the latest suburbs and has office hours from 10 a.m. to noon. What happened to the ministers in the struggle, Martin? Come on up today, Ms. Martin. Shooting more and more dope in our veins and hardly any hope in our brains. And this generation can't read but knows every word to the top 20 video and live for the moment is our life motto. Come on up today, Ms. Martin. Families are fighting families and men are becoming ladies and babies are having babies and everyone sleeps with everyone. Come on up today, Ms. Martin. Where black is beautiful to white girls. Come on up today, Ms. Martin. Unemployment for our black youth is at an all-time high. And guess what? We finally made it to the moon and meet our first black astronaut and our first black Miss Minnesota and our first black Miss America. Come on up today, Ms. Martin. And yet fair still means a shade of black. Come on up today, Ms. Martin. We finally got out of Vietnam. My, what a sham, there's a war going on everywhere. Come on up today, Ms. Martin. South Africa.
Today we are honoring a man who played a positive role in American history. We couldn't think of a better way to honor Dr. Martin Luther King than by presenting a historian, teacher, as well as a positive role model in the black community. Ladies and gentlemen, Mahmoud El-Kati. Short, sweet snack, like I am. Everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. Your subject does have not to agree with your verb in order to serve. You don't have to know about Plato or Aristotle in order to serve. You don't have to know Einstein's theory of relativity in order to serve. You don't have to know the second theory in thermodynamics and physics in order to serve. All that you need is a heart filled with grace and a soul generated by love. If one were to ask me what was one of the three major characteristics of Martin Luther King, the first would be service. He was a servant. A public 13-year career of service. To be educated in Martin Luther King's philosophy was meant to serve. That's one of the greatest values of part of his legacy that he left us students. We've forgotten that in the interest of many other self-serving things. That's the scary part about this generation in general, irrespective of race, class, color, or creed, is the absence of a willingness to serve. The second characteristic of his life would be hope. The moral arc of the universe is long, he said, but it bends toward freedom. Hope, optimism, Jesse Jackson is right. Keep hope alive. That song that you just sung was about hope, written in 1903 for America, written by James Weldon Johnson. It was suggested as the American national anthem, written by an African American. We didn't have a national anthem officially until 1933. Read those words, listen to the about love and struggle. The third characteristic of Martin Luther King's life was community, sense of community. I've been to the mountaintop, and I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but we, as a people, will get to the promised land. That's community. Service, hope, community. And these three characteristics can be reduced to a fundamental common denominator called love and struggle. They were the same things, love and struggle. Martin Luther King attempted with his life, almost as a clinic, to teach us something about love, which I didn't understand when I was a younger person. I thought love was only eros, emotion, or feeling, brother. But he was talking about the love that the Greeks intellectualized about, agape, unconditional love. Love, he said, is an act of the will, which is why I love my people. As a recent graduate of college in the early 60s, I sat in an audience in a church in Cleveland, Ohio. About 3,000 or 4,000 people there. Half of them were young, angry people like myself. And Martin Luther King was the guest speaker. And the first thing he said to us, if you think I came here to tell you to hate white people, you've got the wrong man. I'm about love. That was a courageous thing to say in Cleveland, Ohio, in Huff. As we watch television and watch other people brutalized and beaten in Birmingham, which had just come from Birmingham to Cleveland, of a policeman with his foot pricked an African-American woman's neck. I was in a rage, personally, and many others. But if you think, young men, that I came here to tell you to hate white people, you got the wrong man. I'm about love. That is a courageous act for all sorts of reasons, not only because of the talking to young angry black men, but it's a courageous thing to say in a society that's based on violence. Mother tongue is violence, whose heroes are violence. Martin Luther King was a revolutionary, and he attempted to teach revolutionary values. To teach people to love is a revolutionary value in American society. Let me make this crystal clear. A revolution, young people, is not fundamentally about violence. It never has been and it never will be. John Adams, the second president of the United States, was right. Violence? What violence? Well, that's the last phase of a revolution and the most insignificant part of a revolution. Revolutions are made up of values, and the hardest struggle you have in a revolution is with yourself. The American Revolution, for instance, in my view, began in 1764 with a paper called Orations on the Wings of Liberty by Isaac Sullivan, who was also against slavery. I mean, long before Jefferson, those values were being told over again in words, in small acts, in small deeds, and then Lexington and Concord, which was the last phase. It took about 25 years to make an American independence movement. Study any revolution, you will see that. In the 1960s, the rebellions, and I insist that we call them rebellions and not riots. The rebellion is a revolt against establishment. It's an insurrection. A riot is something that people do at rock concerts with no economic or political consequences. No, those were rebellions in Harlem and Watts, legitimate products of history. Just like David taught us, we were bound to come sometimes. And it came during our lifetime. Riot was something that used to happen when I lived in Miami, Florida. When rich white kids used to come down from the northeastern schools. And Vassar, Princeton, Harvard, another such person. They would come down to Miami and Lauderdale and tear up the town, tear it up, break windows, have fun, be a bus, all over the place. No political or economic consequences. That's a riot. When these Afro-American children came out of North Carolina A&T, Fisk, Southern, these historic African-American schools, they weren't riots. They were the first politicized students this country had ever produced. Were African-American students. African-Americans who go to Augsburg need to understand that. The first students ever to become political in the history of American political democracy, who became more town-centered than gown-centered, were African-American students. They started it all in Greenfield. Very important. In 1964, freshmen. 4 freshmen, not seniors, out of a full session, dealing with that question. They had heard about Martin Luther King, but they weren't followers of his until much later. Struggle is the key to understanding what Martin's about, or was about. Martin's life said to me that the essence of life is not in being, but in becoming. The essence of life is not in being, but in becoming. He kept asking himself the question that Job of the Bible asked himself over and over again. Who am I? Where did I come from? Whither am I bound? Am I really who I think I am? Am I really who I ought to be? Change, growth, new insight. That was Martin's life. From that fateful day of December 1st, 1955, when Rosa Parks sat down so the rest of us could stand up, until the day of his death, April 4th, in Memphis, 1968. He went through a complete metamorphosis. Passive resistance was what he taught in Montgomery. But after he went to India, he brought back and introduced into the philosophy of nonviolence something called Satyagraha, from Mahatma Gandhi. Satyagraha is a Sanskrit Indian word, Hindu word, which means insistence on the truth. Satya, truth. Graha, grasp the truth. And for that reason, Martin Luther King was not like the rest of us, who were at war with the Republic. We've been at war with the Republic since those 20 Negro slaves in Jamestown. But truth to him would have been the same thing it meant to Gandhi. It was all embracing inclusionary. And so you embrace all people with this truth that I have. And I insist on telling, on speaking, and doing the truth. That's what he was asking white Americans to join him. The truth, African Americans. So he could create what? The beloved community. The community where a man could be a man, a woman could be a woman, and a child could be a child. End of discussion. That was his quest. The beloved community was based on truth and understanding that all human beings, the meanest among us, are heirs to the legacy of human dignity, which is why his life, if you see, it's almost like a poem if you want to write a beautiful poem. Ended struggling with whom? 55, 65, 70-year-old underpaid black garbage man in Memphis. And at the same time, he was running a campaign in Washington, D.C. for the Poor People's Campaign, where he called and summoned to Washington all of the poor. The poor black, the poor red, the poor brown, and the poor white, and everybody got it. that most poor people in absolute numbers in this country are white people. And blacks make up a disproportionate number among the poor. That is not true. That's got pushed to the big side stage of history. The Poor People's Campaign in Washington, D.C. He tried to answer the bottom line question, the economic question, that Frederick Douglass taught us about years ago, when Douglass said that I've discovered the secret behind slavery and all oppression, and I've ascertained it to be the pride, power, and avarice of men. The slave knew that in the 19th century. Things like race and class are really forms of false consciousness. And when you're talking about race, you're talking really about politics and economics. When you talk about class, you're talking about politics and economics. These things become hardened into political and economic realities. That's all it is. Race is not a human or personal reality, says James Baldwin. It is embodied a political reality. Got to understand that. You're the first generation who have the opportunity to solve some of these questions. Because some of us didn't know that. There were people growing up like me who thought they belonged to a race. Many of us still do. But you don't. That's false. That's bogus. I and Martin Luther King, we as a people belong to a distinct experience in history, a peoplehood. And all people are not merely creatures of biology, they are creatures of history and culture. And that's fundamentally who you are. You are a product through time and space of history and culture, not biology. See, when you believe in race, you believe that there's a corresponding reality that word would suggest. Because there's something called a race, it dictates how you behave. You understand? That there's a link between what you're born with and how you behave. That's not true. Most of what people are, they're taught. You are what you eat, you also are what you talk. So remember that. The next challenge in the African American community, me and my colleagues are trying to, other people can belong to, but we're not. We're African Americans and we don't belong to a race. We belong to a distinct people, shaped by language, a common psychology, a common heritage, a common set of mores, a common set of values, and that's called a value system, and that is ethnicity. That's what culture is. Ethnicity is an expression of culture. And culture are those ways which you learn and share and is transmitted through generations. So everybody is distinct. And Martin had a very special feeling for the specialness of difference. His integration did not mean assimilation, as people are trying to tell you now. He respected the specialness of difference. That's beautiful, to be different and the same, because that is in fact what we are. Love was what he taught. And he understood that in order to create this beloved community we had to struggle for, as he said, the community that I see, that I'm talking about, does not exist. We have to create the beloved community. We have to create new human values that are inclusionary. A political democracy that's inclusionary. Where all people will be respected simply because they are people. And you don't have to earn the right, own property, all that stuff, to be respected as a man or woman. He said too much is too much. This is a thing fashion society, where people are taught to love things and use people. I want to reverse that. I want to teach people to love people and use things the way it should be. That people are first and foremost. Do you know that the only real wealth in the world is human wealth? The only real capital is human capital. That land is a fiction. Most of these things grow out of concepts that never exist. Did you know if when I talk to a Native American, still, I shouldn't say years ago, but even now, I told him that I own this land, he think you out of your mind. That's like telling you you can cut out some air on it. There's no such thing. That's a creative concept. Language can create anything. Language, the French poet said, is like God turned into the flesh. That's what language does. It creates things that don't even exist. And to an Indian, so we wonder, how did this guy beat him in the US by Manhattan for $24 from an Indian? Which is very interesting. Because Indians had no concept of land ownership by private persons. That's a myth. And so Martin was a revolutionary who taught values, which did not go against the grain of American political democracy. He tried to reaffirm that, if you remember the speech in Washington. It was the hypocrites who were running the country, who denied the political democracy open and open society. He embraced democracy, and of course, he embraced Judeo-Christian heritage in the most passionate way, such as the likes that we've never seen on the part of a public Christian. Undergirding that was his belief. Yes, my dream is deeply rooted in the what? In the American dream. I want it to happen, you guys. I believe what Jefferson wrote. I believe these eloquent words that these people speak about all the time. We live in a hypocritical country. That's got to be said. We live in a country where people are taught to be bourgeois, as if nobody else matters. The sad thing to say about bourgeois society, about middle-class people, is this. The country is wretched with middle class and its aspirations. But the sad thing to say about middle class people is they cannot afford candor. That's true. I mean, to be candid, to be honest about stuff. I have a friend who said the only two honest people in this society, if you notice their behavior is similar, that's the filthy rich and the dirty poor. They're similar in terms of being honest about who they are. But people in the middle want to be sophisticated. Sophisticated is another word, which means in Greek sort of close to being dishonest. So Martin Luther King would not endorse what many African American people are doing, and the behavior of many students, of this wolfish and selfish individualism. This thing of wanting to be middle class to the exclusion of the masses of African people all over this nation. That most students I meet, African American students not to mention white students, have no empathetic insight with those people whom Martin Luther King loved. The poor, the lowest, the least, and the lost. They have no more insight, no more appreciation, no more concern about the so-called underclass than anybody else. I just want the next gadget, the next car, the next coat. He would be preaching against these things. Oh, I'm sure he would. He would be preaching against the white liberals who were supposed to be his buddies, who abandoned their own ideology to serve at the feet of a post-adolescent who's almost 80 years old. Michael El-Kati was a disgrace. Yes, he would talk that Bush made liberalism sound like a curse word, and he backed off of liberalism. Why did he tell Bush that if it weren't for liberals, you'd probably be working in a sweatshop for 75 cents an hour right now? It was the liberals that brought all this stuff to America. I'm not a liberal. I'm just trying to be objective. No, I'm not conservative. I'm transcendent. If you're gonna vibrate with Martin Luther King, you're gonna be a revolutionary in values. There's no way out. There's no way. If you vibrated with Martin Luther King, you talk about revolution. He taught revolutionary values, and one of his last speeches, and you're absolutely right, somebody alluded to the whole question of what he called a freedom budget and a guaranteed annual income, redistribution of wealth. Anytime you talk about that, we talk about revolution. That's what he was talking about. A guaranteed annual income. Read a book, and we don't read his books, called Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos of Community. In the last part of that book, there's a chapter, which is an arresting chapter called World House, which he leaves for us, which is unusual, an outline of what he wanted to see happen in civil and human rights, in economics, in housing, in education. He called this a world house. knowledge that we man is inextricably interwoven one with the other. We all are part and parcel of one another. I do not deny my brother. I'm not simply my brother's keeper, I'm my brother's brother. In Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, in Europe, and all over the world. He pointed out that each of us are eternally in the red to people we've never even seen, to generations gone before us. When we wake up in the morning and go to the bathroom, he pointed out, we reach for a sponge that's provided for us by a Pacific Islander. We use soap that's created by a European. And then at the table, we sit down and drink coffee that's provided by somebody from South America, or tea by a Chinese, or cocoa by a West African. Before we leave for a job in the morning, we'll be holding to more than half the world. It's a world house. Can't you see that? You know the stuff you be using in your cars and driving around that sweet oil from Nigeria. And the trouble in Angola is about uranium, the richest deposits of uranium in the world ever found are in Angola. That's why the peace thing is on. You know what uranium is for, right? It goes to make atomic bombs and other essentials for human progress. That's what that's about. Martin would have been opposed to most of our beliefs. No doubt about it. If you couldn't read Martin Luther King and not make those conclusions, and I do, every student before he graduates or she graduates should read Strive Toward Freedom. That's right. Explain the Montgomery bus boycott, what an achievement that was. Should read Strength to Love, explaining his love ethic. Should read Why We Can't Wait, as the people always wanted African Americans to wait on their freedom, and people who've been Nazis and communists and everybody to come up here in one day and get their freedom. No one said in 3 words, you got to know, that African Americans are speaking now. All here now. We want our freedom. All of it. We want it here and we want it now. We're not waiting. Why we can't wait? And his last quote, chaos or community. Where do we go from here? It's unusual that an activist leaves a record, writes books like Martin Luther King. That is unusual. So you don't even have to ask anybody. You don't have to ask me. Go read the books. He left a legacy of literature. And tons of papers at the King Center, at Boston University, and at the University of Massachusetts, and at Crozer Theological Seminary in Pennsylvania. It's scattered all over some brilliant theological papers. Martin Luther King was a master theologian, and I think a giant intellectual. He's underrated as an intellectual by the intellectual community because he was an activist and a preacher. I guess you can't preach and be intellectual at the same time. But he was both. A perfect marriage. We need to read particularly students who are interested in theology. He studied one of the master German theologians. His paper was written on Western German theology. His doctoral dissertation. There are very few African American people who have been as enmeshed in Western culture. Hope, community, service, love, struggle. The Bible says that life is struggle. That's what it is. To struggle is to live. To live is to struggle. No gain, no pain. No pain, no gain. No cross. No crown. Frederick Douglass had something to say about struggle. And Martin picked up on it. Martin was preeminently a functional historian. That he knew that he was a part and parcel of an ongoing, unfolding drama. And that he was simply a part of it called the Civil Rights Movement. But that people who had gone before him, the A. Philip Randolphs and the M. Mary Church Terrell and the Ida B. Wells, he talked about them all the and Martin Luther King, and David Walker. Yes, and Nat Turner, the revolutionary, and Gabriel Prosser, the revolutionary, and Denmark Vesey, the revolutionary, and Paul Guthrie, and Sojourner Truth. All of these people were part of the process of resistance in the African American experience. There are two ways to look at African American people. It's a dichotomy of tension in social and political thought. You either resist or you conform. Martin had a way of talking about that. He said that there's something healthy about discontent. And I marvel at this new militancy on the part of what we call in the American Negro, of this kind of maladjustment. He said it's kind of healthy to be maladjusted, according to the German school of psychology. And so I'm not upset that our people are out on the street, that they're going toward their health. Because if they adjust to this stuff, segregation, apartheid, if they adjust to it, then they're crazy, not white people. So it's healthy to go against that. The struggle is to be healthy. Not to do anything is to be sick, to get ulcers, and internalize the violence, and become cannibals and that kind of stuff. No, he was for struggle. The same struggle that Frederick Douglass did. The American people have this lesson to learn, where ignorance prevails, poverty is enforced, and any one class of people are made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to wrong, oppress, and degrade them, then not a person's property will be safe. Hungry men will eat, desperate men will commit crimes, and outraged men will seek revenge. So, my fellow citizens, let me give you a word of the philosophy of revolution. The whole history of the progress of human development shows that all concessions made to her august claims have been born of earnest struggle. The conflict must be exciting, agitating, and all absorbing. For the time being, putting all that you lost to silence, it must do this or it does nothing. For if there's no struggle, there's no progress. Men who profess to favor freedom and yet deprecate agitation are men who want crops without plowing the ground. They want the rain without the thunder and lightning. They want the oceans without the awful roar of its mighty waters. The struggle may be a moral one, or it may be a physical one, or it may be both moral and physical, but there must be a struggle. Power concedes nothing without demands. It never did, and it never will. You find out what a people will submit to, and you will have found out the exact amount of oppression and wrong which will be imposed upon them, and these will continue until they're restricted by words or blows or both. The limits of tyrants is prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppress. So then, black people will be held at the north and will fall to the south, so long as they submit to these devilish outrages and make no resistance, either moral or physical. Men and women may not get all they pay for in this world, but they sure as hell must pay for all they give. Struggle. Martin is very clear on that in Birmingham. We will win the goal of freedom in Birmingham and all over America, because the goal of America is freedom. Abused and scorned though we may be, our destiny is tied to the destiny of America. Before the Pilgrims landed, we were here. Before the pen of Thomas Jefferson etched the majestic words of the Declaration of Independence across the face of history, we were here. For now 3 centuries our forebears labored without wages. They made cotton king. They built the homes of their masters while suffering cruel injustice and shameful humiliation. And yet, out of a bottomless vitality, they continued to thrive and develop. If the inexpressible cruelties of slavery could not stop us, then the opposition we now face will surely fail. Thank you.
Mahmoud El-Kati. When we were looking at our guest speaker, we said, we got to have him here, we got to have him talk, and I think now you know why. Our next selection will be a music selections from the Gospel Lights. Tierra Watkins is a missions counselor here at the school. It's kind of wonderful to have worked with him as a student and now as a co-worker. And in the midst of being here at Augsburg College, he started a gospel group that's making their way here in the Twin Cities and sharing the word and the news of the Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, the Gospel Light.
If you want it, God's got it. If you need it, you gotta go to God to get it. If you want it. Well, if you want it, hey, my God. Well, if you need it, I know He's got it. Yes, He's got it. If you want it, my God. Well, He's got everything. Hey, well, now if you want it, I know He's got it. Hey, if you need it, I know He's got it. If you want it, my God, well, He's got everything, hey, that you need. You know that time's getting harder each and every day. Well, my God has promised me that He will make me well. He's standing by at your command. Well, and He has promised to. Now if you want it, my God. Well, now if you want it, He said, Evan, how come you can have such a good attitude? All the trials and tribulations you're going through. I mean, please show me what you're doing. Well, I got a secret. It's not just my secret, but I got a secret. Like this. When I feel good, when I feel good, when I feel good, when I feel good, because there's something about me. I don't know what it is. There's something about me. I don't know what it is. There's something about me. Well, all right. When I feel right, when I feel right, when I feel right, when I feel right, because there's something about me. I don't know what it is. There's something about me. I don't know what it is. There's something about me. Well, I don't think you heard me on the line. Now when the spirit starts to move, when I'm telling you, will it make me wanna sing? Well, have me do this thing, because there's something about me. I don't know what it is. There's something about me. I don't know what it is. There's something about me. I don't know what it is. There's something about me. 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 Stand up. I know you want to stand up. Something about me. 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 Well, it makes me feel.
Let's boom boom kid. There's a question we have, serious question. Question you should think about. Question has to do with your relationship with God. Question goes something like this. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? What you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? What you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? What you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. What you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning, the fire starts burning. Tell me what you gonna do? And what you gonna do? When the fire starts burning. There ain't nothing you can do. There ain't nothing you can do. You can't run. There ain't nothing you can do. You can't hide. There ain't nothing you can do. There ain't nothing you can do.
introduce everybody in the group real quick. To my left, Emmett Bryant. We call him the hand. This next song we're gonna do, you're gonna see what I'm talking about. You know, this is his song. So, you know. Ham does mean dark. Olivia Garnier. Tracy Turner. Kenneth Garnier. My name is Sierra Watson. I'm at home.
This is a song that we know that traditionally slaves used to put messages in their songs. Well, this one is Over Yonder. Well, and if you miss me from singing, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up into glory, I'll be singing up there, I will now, I know the Lord, He and if you miss me from walking, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up into glory, I'll be walking up there, I will now, I know that the Lord, He will bring me at a point say, yes sir, over on the other side. And if you miss me from praising, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up into glory, I'll be praising up there, oh, I will, I'll be praising up there, I'll be praising up there, oh, I'll be praising up there, one of these mornings, and it won't be long, you're gonna look for me, I'll be through, I'll be praising up there, oh, I'll be praising up there, I'll be praising up there, I'll be through, 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 I'll be praising up there, you know I will, I'll be praising up there, oh, you know I will, I'll be praising up there, I'll be praising, I know the Lord, He will bring me at a point say, yes sir, over on the other side. We're gonna see how much cheese can teach you guys. We're gonna have you sing, okay? We're gonna have you sing. When I sing, when you miss me from singing, you sing. Sing, okay? Alright? And if you miss me from singing, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up into glory. I'll be singing up there. That's all, sing. That's all. I don't know. We're gonna split them up. Let's try to see who's talking about. Burn up what say. Let's split them. Over on the other side. This side first. And if you miss me from singing, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up into glory, I'll be singing up there.
not this guy. No, it's not this guy. I wonder who it is. What looks like this guy over here? All right. Heard our boys say, over yonder, yes sir, over on the other side of the line. Here we go, Sheila. It's gonna tell the truth. It's gonna tell the truth. And if you miss me, come sing it. Can't find me nowhere. Come on up into glory. I'll be singing up there. All right, tell me all by yourself. I know that the Lord, He will be better voice. Say right. Yes, sir. Over on the other side. One more time, everybody. One more time, everybody. Here we go. And if you miss me from singing, and you can't find me nowhere, come on up into glory. I'll be singing up there. Yes, I will. I know that the Lord, He will bring me. Heard our voices over yonder. Yes, sir. Over on the other side. I'm gonna have that time. Over on the other side. I'm gonna walk around a free man. Nobody can tell me what to do. They can't tell me what to do. Over yonder, yes sir. Over on the other shore. Thank you.
I just wanted to say a special hello to David Wald and Boy, who works in the library. We kind of like him. They've been very supportive of the group. We just want to say thank you.
This is a song that was written during the 60s by a friend of mine called I Had a Dream. We're going to give it a go here, try to do that song.
So we haven't sung it since the 60s.
Come on. We're going to give it a shot here and try to do this song. I think it's appropriate for the occasion. And I had a dream. I had a dream all men were equal. I had a dream all men were free. I had a dream all wars were over and we were living in harmony. We were free. I had a dream all men were equal. I had a dream all men were free. I had a dream all wars were over and we were living in harmony. We were free. One day, evil men will be merciful. And one day, blind men, they're gonna see where this world we live in, it will be beautiful. And that's the way it happened in my dream. Hey, I had a dream all men were equal. I had a dream all men were free. I had a dream all wars were over and we were living in harmony. Hey,
were free. Don't you know? I had a dream all men were equal. I had a dream all men were free. I had a dream all was over, and we were living in harmony. We were free. I had a dream all men were equal. I had a dream all men were free. I had a dream all was over, and we were living in harmony. We were free. I had a dream all men were equal. I had a dream all men were free. I had a dream all was over, and we were living in harmony. We were free.
Thank you.
We're going to end our program with comments from the Dean, our Vice President of the college. We'd like for you to join us after the benediction for refreshments in the back. As you see on your program, there will be a film showing in our folding dining hall at 4:15. I Have a Dream by Martin Luther King. And on the back, read this: the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at a time of challenge. And we will have that. Martin Luther said he couldn't say it all, and he hasn't, but he has prepared a piece throughout the past couple of years on the life of Martin Luther King Jr., and these are available in my office. He has some with you. You need to add this to your collection of Martin Luther King. I'm looking at one of our modern-day saints. $2. I think we may raise it to $3, but at least I know it's $2. Just the cost of printing. More than conscious from a key Swahili word. Recollections of a modern-day saint or a modern saint, Martin Luther King. We do have this available, and pull out the $2, because I said it was Michael Jackson here today. We wouldn't mind sitting as long as we would buy his album. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to introduce to you a person who's very supportive, and when they come out from our room, because the Augsburg Black Student Union office gets a little loud, I can appreciate it. If it's not him, it's the social dean, Pat Parkinson. It's a little loud in there. But we do a lot of things in the office, and I guess they kind of going to get used to it. And I'm glad. I'd rather them come to our students a little noisy than no students and all. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan LaHerd.
I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of you who participated in this convocation and our guests, the Gospelites and Dr. El-Kati. You have done a service to all of us, and I thank you for that. My family periodically watches parts of Alex Haley's Roots. We have a pirated videotape. And recently, when we were watching it again, it occurred to me that when I watched that, I assumed always that that Alex Haley's roots were the black people in the story. Kunta Kinte and Izzy and Chicken George, those were his roots. It occurred to me recently that also the white people in the story are his roots as well. And I think sometimes those of us who are white think that Martin Luther King perhaps is not part of our roots, but he is part of the roots of all of us. The legacy that he left is not always in terms of speeches, writings, and changes in laws, but it is part of us that we cannot see. It is part of our own history. Whether we know it or not, whether we acknowledge it or not, we all have been shaped by the presence of Martin Luther King. It is valuable, I think, for us to take from this convocation today a sense of the oneness we are in community, that we all have been shaped by the same culture in many ways and by the same history. Our roots are intertwined and they cannot be separated. Thank you for being with us today.
For me personally, I had the mumps, unfortunately, and the fortunate thing perhaps was that I had the opportunity to take in every minute of the television coverage of Martin Luther King's burial, the funerals, the eulogies. And I'd like to close by using the last three sentences, or actually paragraphs, from the eulogy by Benjamin Mays, President Emeritus of Morehouse. Let black and white alike search their hearts, and if there be any prejudice in our hearts against interracial or ethnic groups, let us exterminate it, and let us pray, as Martin Luther would pray if he could. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If we do this, Martin Luther King Jr. will have died a redemptive death from which all humankind will benefit. Morehouse will never be the same because Martin Luther came by here, and the nation and the world will be indebted to him for a century to come. I close by saying to you what Martin Luther King Jr. believed. If physical death was the price he had to pay to rid America of prejudice and injustice, nothing could be more redemptive. And to paraphrase words of the immortal John Fitzgerald Kennedy, permit me to say that Martin Luther King Jr.'s unfinished work on earth must truly be our own. Go in peace, serve the Lord.